Hey everyone, this is Dylan, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the 8th episode in WandaVision. This episode is titled Previously On. So this episode was released on February 26th, 2021 on Disney+. It stars Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff and Kathryn Hahn as Agatha Harkness. So let's get right into this episode. So we open up in Salem in the 1600s, and this is where we get kind of the backstory of Agatha, and we see her being led up to a stake, and these people are in hoods that are leading her. They tie her arms around the back of the stake like they are going to burn her alive. We see that they are magic handcuffs. This isn't any kind of ordinary witch trial. These are witches that are getting rid of another witch. And they say that it's because she has become too strong and she's been dabbling in the dark magic. And we find out that Agatha is very strong, and she basically sucks the life force out of all these other people and then goes on her merry little way. And we find out that the brooch that she's been wearing has actually come from the mother from the Salem scene, and we don't know if it's her real mother or if it's like the mother of the coven, which I think is probably more likely, but we see that she has taken that from her, and that's the brooch that she's been wearing that has the 3 people on it. Then we head back to Agatha's basement. Wanda tries to cast a spell or whatever on Agatha, and she's like, your powers don't work here, because if you look all around this room, there's runes that are protection. And she's like, how do you not know the fundamentals of being a witch? So in this scene, Agatha is talking about fake Pietro and how she couldn't do necromancy. That was out of the question because the body was on another continent and was full of bullet holes. So that leaves a lot of questions open to who is Evan Peters actually playing. Because she also mentions that she is mind controlling whoever it is. That she's basically can see and hear what he sees. So who is he? And basically the entire thing is Agatha wants to know how Wanda did what she did to Westview. And we could see that very clearly with what was happening with Evan Peters' character, who kept asking her questions about like, how did you do this? And she was like, I don't know. And in order to get these answers, Agatha kind of takes Wanda on this like Christmas Carol-y type journey. So instead of like past, present, future, we're doing mostly the past, and we're reliving all the events that happened in Wanda's past. First one is basically Wanda's origin story of the first time that we know anything about Wanda in the MCU, where the bomb hit that killed her parents and also left her and Pietro fearful for their lives for several days before they realized that the bomb wasn't going to explode. So in this we find out that Wanda's father is kind of like a DVD bootlegger maybe. He basically goes out and sells sitcoms to the people of Sokovia, and when he comes home at night, they put on a sitcom to watch and kind of practice their English, which is something that I mentioned in one of my reviews, that I thought maybe the sitcoms were because when people in foreign countries, a lot of the times they learn English through sitcoms and American television, so I kind of called that. So after the bombing happened, Agatha's kind of taking us through, and then she's like, alright, well, let's go to the next place, and she conjures up a door, leads to Wanda's time with Hydra. We see that she's a willing participant, and she's like in this room, and there's 2 people outside of this room who are monitoring her, and she walks in and the Mind Stone is there. And so the Mind Stone has killed every other person that they have done this experiment on, but when Wanda sees it, it comes out of the spear thing that it is a part of and turns yellow, because originally it was blue, and turns yellow, and then we see a silhouette of a person in Wanda's eyes, and I believe that that person was probably Wanda. If you looked, it has like the classic Wanda costuming and has the headdress, but we still haven't found out anything about what has caused this thing that happened in Westview. Then the next place that they go is the Avengers compound, and this is right after Pietro, the real Pietro, has died, and Wanda is in her room watching Malcolm in the Middle. In the sitcom, Bryan Cranston is putting up a roof, and the roof falls and collapses on him. Vision is like, "Is that guy just get hurt?" And Wanda says one of the best lines that has happened in the show so far, and she says, "It's not one of those shows." And I think that that plays a big role in what WandaVision is. Like, she put herself into a sitcom because it's a place where you can't get hurt because it's a sitcom. Like, it's comedy overall, and she can't get hurt any more than what she has already been hurt. And I think that that's a really interesting character point that she has. And then we get our very last walkthrough of past events, and it is of the Sword headquarters, where Wanda goes to the Sword headquarters in order to try to obtain Vision's body. She says she wants to have Vision's body to do a funeral because she's the next of kin. And so it's not like the security footage that we've seen of what had happened from Hayward. It is, so Wanda goes, she tries to check in, and they're like, "All right." And the guy at the front desk is like, "I have to buzz you in," and she's like, "No, I've got this," and like does a magic or whatever and opens the doors. So she goes in, she finds Hayward's office, and her and Hayward talk. She's like, "I want to get Vision's body so that we can have a funeral." And he's like, "Well, I gotta show you something first." And so they walk over to a door in his office. He opens the door, and she sees Vision's body basically being mutilated, which is horrible. I don't know why he was possessed to show her that, because that's traumatizing in and of itself. And we find out that she doesn't feel anything in Vision's body, and Hayward will not let her take Vision's body because it's $3 billion worth of vibranium. And so she just goes out to her car and drives away. There is a letter on her passenger seat, and we don't see what it is, but we see that she drives to Westview and pulls up to a driveway, and in that driveway is a vacant lot for a house, and she opens up the letter, and it is a deed to this vacant lot from Vision, and that's where they were going to live and where they were going to be. So she goes into the vacant lot, she kind of has a mental break, and we just see her expel all of this red energy, and we can see the house starting to be built, and then we see that the entire town has changed. We also see a part of this where she has physically created Vision, which is very interesting because we were under the impression that Wanda could not create life. And she did not believe that she could create life, because even when Sparky died, she said, I can't bring him back. And since this is all flashbacks for her, we go into the real time and we see Agatha, who has both Billy and Tommy by their necks with power leashes. I would say that's the closest thing that I could. And Agatha is floating above them in the middle of the street. And Agatha says that Wanda is using what is called chaos magic, and that it was a myth, that she was not supposed to be real, and that a witch that could create spontaneous creation. And she then says, "You're the Scarlet Witch," which then gives Wanda her name, which is very interesting. I'm glad that they did do this, and then basically we cut to the credits. But there is an end credit sequence, and in this end credit sequence we see Hayward in the new sword location outside of the Hex, and they have Vision's body. And they have used that missile that Wanda came out and threw out into, like, at the sword people in that one episode. They're using the power that's around that missile to bring Vision back to life. But this Vision is pale, is all white, and it's kind of clear that this is kind of just a husk of what Vision is, and that the real Vision with the soul is inside of Westview. And so that's basically it for this episode. So let's talk about the things that I liked about this episode. I liked that we had a little bit more backstory with Agatha and with Wanda, because these are scenes and things that we had not previously seen before. We had only heard about them. So I really did enjoy that. And let's get into the things that I didn't like / also questions that I still have, which I think is most of what the segment's gonna be. And so the very first thing is, I think that there was a major missed opportunity for them to have the opening credits, or like the opening recap, to say last time on Agatha All Along, which was the television show that they had teased at the end of the last episode as being, it's all been Agatha's TV show. But we do find out that it wasn't really Agatha all along. It was only Agatha some of the time, because Wanda was the one who actually created all of Westview. It's just the events of things that had happened to Wanda in Westview were because of Agatha. Alright, so the next episode is, I don't know, I've heard anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours long. If we go based off of what had been previously reported as this being like a 6-hour story, and so we really only have 4 hours of the 6-hour story, so there's a potential that we're gonna have a like 2-hour episode next week, which will be like a television movie, which will be really interesting, and I do hope we do, because there's a lot of things that they need to wrap up in this episode. So my first question is, who is Dottie? Is Dottie even important? Because we've seen her several times, and she did have the first thing where she split her hand open with that glass and had the red blood, and she heard Jimmy Woo talking to Wanda through the radio. So is she even important in this story at all? I had seen some rumors that potentially she was playing a character, and I think, I'm not 100% sure if I remember it correctly, but she was playing a character called Arcan, who is represented by yellow, and we see in the last week's episode that she had yellow flowers in front of her house. So I don't know. We also need to know, who is Ralph? Because Ralph has been brought up too many times for it to just be a red herring. Potentially it could be a red herring, but I think that more likely it is something to do with like the overarching big villain in this movie, who will probably become the villain of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Also, I was reading and I saw somebody mention that it could potentially be a character in the comics called Ralph, who uses a Necronomicon and can bring things back to life or shapeshift in that kind of way. So is Senor Scratchy Ralph? And I think that that's an important question to ask, and that book could potentially be the Necronomicon. We also need to know, who is Evan Peters playing? Is he Pietro from the Fox X-Men movies, or is he just somebody random? Like, I don't know, but why would you pick Evan Peters to play this character if he is not actually somebody important? That would just make not a whole lot of sense. Also, who was Jimmy Woo looking for? Because Jimmy Woo was outside of Westview because he had lost contact with a missing persons, somebody in the witness protection program. So who was he looking for? We still don't know who that person is. And we also find out that the people in the commercials are not Wanda's parents. So who are they? Are they just random people that are starring in these commercials, or are they somebody else? So I think that those are all very interesting questions that need to be answered in this upcoming episode, which will be the last one, so hopefully you're prepared. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments down below of WandaVision, whether you like it, you don't like it, and tell me why, or if you have any theories about what you think might be happening in this final episode. But remember, if you're not already subscribed and you'd like to be, please hit that subscribe button down below and give this video a like if you liked it. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day. Bye.